Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I would not care for my obese brother? When my little brother Teddy was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. According to my mom, he wasn't breathing for at least 3 minutes. Since then, my parents often used that as an excuse for Teddy's behavior. My childhood became a living hell with Teddy. Give Teddy your candy, he died coming into this world. Let him play with your friends, he died coming to this world. Let him open your presents, Teddy almost didn't have a birthday. I had to put up with Teddy's tantrums, mistreatment, fits, and bad behavior. If I touched a single hair on his head, I got punished, while Teddy got away with whatever he did. It became so bad that when I was 15, I moved out the house to live with family members away from Teddy, and my contact with my parents and Teddy's limited. Currently, I'm 35 and Teddy's 26. When he was 18, he decided he wanted to be a competitive eater, which turned into just eating. And now Teddy weighs almost 600 pounds. Because of his weight, he can't hold a job and lives with our parents, who still cater to him and pay for everything. Since Teddy requires round-the-clock care, my parents hardly leave the house. They weren't present at my wedding, only see the grandkids if I bring them around, and all family events like dinners have to be held at their house because it's hard to move Teddy. A few days ago, Teddy suffered a bad fall that put him in the hospital. My husband and I at least came to see him. My parents complained that the hospital wasn't feeding him enough, didn't have a wheelchair big enough for him, and naturally they didn't want to hear anything about his weight. It would be easier to turn water into gold. To make a long story short, my parents pulled my husband and I aside and asked large amounts of money for Teddy's care. They said that they didn't have money to keep caring for him, and were having to dip into their retirement funds. They even suggested that once Teddy's cleared to go home, he moved in with us because my husband and I are well off with a bigger house, and so we can get a break because we have to care for him all year round while you just visit. I said no. My husband told them hell no. We both work full-time, and our kids are enrolled in sports and dance. We made it clear that Teddy would not be moving in with us, nor we would be moving our schedule around to deal with him, or giving them the money even though we could afford it. But he is your brother. You almost didn't have a brother. We left the hospital. My mom later called me, berating me for abandoning the family and Teddy, and demanding money. I told her I would not care for Teddy under any circumstances. Even if something happened to her and my dad, I would not care for my brother. It is her problem, not mine. My mom cursed me out over the phone and hung up. I do feel a little bad because Teddy's my brother, but it made my life hell, and my parents refused to take any responsibility for his behavior. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He can't hold a job and lives with our parents who still cater to him and pay for everything. They enabled him to get to 600 pounds. He's not much longer for this world. These are based on his decisions, which we're not responsible for. They need serious family therapy to see how their behavior is leading to the death of their son. They can't just help him get close to death, then pawn the problem off on someone else. They aren't going to have Teddy around for long if he stays at 600 pounds. They are killing their own kid with food. The parents will most likely outlive Teddy. Plus, it's like every 600-plus pound live TV show ever, Teddy physically cannot maintain his weight with his little flying monkeys. This is totally on the parents. The OP will get blamed for his early death too. Not the a-hole. I feel bad for you and Teddy. You were both failed by your parents. Right? There's 9 years between the two. That means it was a 6-year-old that was so horrible their 15-year-old sibling had to move out. And that wasn't a wake-up call? That's what stuck out to me too. They created such a monster of a child in only 6 years that they ran off their 15-year-old. Absolute insanity. And yet, even with this recent interaction at the hospital, the mom is still trying to use the fact that Teddy almost died at birth as a manipulation tool. I feel so bad for OP. And Teddy too. He never had a chance. Not the a-hole. What the heck is wrong with your parents? They're helping that umbilical cord finish the job. Next story. Am I the a-hole for having another child after giving my first up for adoption? When I was 17, I got pregnant with my first child. I was in a very unstable, toxic environment. Was to be a single mother. I had no family support. I was told to get an abortion by close members, but I didn't. I thought I could handle being a mom. I was wrong. I struggled hard with everything from work to childcare to bonding, and it felt like I was causing my baby to suffer along with me. I had PPD, the severe anger portion, and didn't know it. I was drowning and failing at every turn I took. So when my baby was 3 months, I decided to let her dad's aunt and uncle legally adopt her. They've never shut me out, But I was beyond guilty and disgusted with myself that I have minimal interaction with my baby. I felt she was better off without me. Fast forward 10 years. By some miracle, I have found a love of my life, and we're doing well. We've discussed my baby and the effects it had on me over the years. He's always wanted a kid, but I've been hesitant because I vividly remember failing so miserably. He's assured me everything will be fine. Still, it scares me, so I've stayed on birth control, and sometimes as extra precaution, we'll use rubbers. A couple of months ago, I missed my period. Didn't think much of it, but took a test anyway. I usually do. I feel anything is off. Lo and behold, I'm pregnant. My husband is ecstatic while I'm freaking out. He tells me my circumstances are different, that I've grown as a person, so things would be okay if I had another child. When we told our families, his side was happy, but mine freaked out. They told me I was already a horrible mom. Why on earth would I have another kid to be horrible too? That I would do nothing but cause pain and eventually give this one up too. I feel terrible about having another kid because I'm terrified it'll be the same and I'll fold again. Plus, how am I gonna explain to this kid they have a sibling mommy couldn't take care of? I don't know what to do. Am I the a-hole for having this kid? Not the a-hole. Who you were as a single mom at 17 is not who you are at 27 with a partner. Don't let your family, who didn't support you at 17, drag you down. Being a parent is overwhelming, but you are different. That said, don't let your husband talk you into a kid you don't want. If you want a kid, now and with him, go for it. Not the a-hole, but your family, all of them saying anything, are. You're a teenager, having a child, alone with PPD. I was mid-20s, married with an awesome support system, and barely made it through because of PPD. My husband and his family got me through, along with therapy. You didn't fail as a mother, you didn't fail your first child. You did what you have to do to save your own life and your child's. You saved both of you. Not to cause her freak out, but ever hear those horrible news stories where mom drives her and kids off the bridge in a family minivan? PPD. While it's not always that serious, it easily can be. 1. Relax. Take a deep breath. Steady yourself and make a plan now. 2. Your family has got to go. If they didn't support you then, they're not supporting you now. No contact, at minimum for the duration of pregnancy and a good chunk, if not all, of baby's first year. That will be the hardest for you. You do not need any outside negativity at this time, not one little bit. The time right now is for you to focus on you and your child only. 3. Treatment and therapy is necessary. You've already had PPD. Don't wait for it to happen again. Start now. Take it very seriously. It will help immensely. 4. Your husband and his family. Lean on them and lean on them hard. They're there for you, so use that to your advantage. You are not alone. You have them. Talk with your husband, let him know about the PPD then, how serious it can become, and let him know you're afraid and in need of help. Possibly set up something with his family with alternating weeks between people to assist when you become later term and for a while after the baby is born. PPD can last a long time, 3 to 24 months after the baby is born. Even if it's just lunch dates with someone, anything with help. All the positive support you can get, suck that up. 5. Your first child. How do I explain to this kid they have a sibling mommy couldn't take care of? Easily tell the truth, age appropriate of course. There is zero reason your first child should be kept a secret. You don't need to take out an advertisement or anything about it. But if asked when they're young, just say, "Mommy was too young. I didn't know daddy then and was unable to care for a baby by myself then." If they do not ask, do not tell them. Let them know they have a half-sibling, and let them know why. It could also be a great opening for a talk with a teen. Teenage pregnancy is so very hard to go through. Mommy was not able to. I learned a hard way to use protection always. 6. You got this. Edit 1. I want to humbly, I can't express just how humbly, and sincerely thank everyone for their advice. I'm in tears reading these responses because other than my husband, who is the sweetest, most supportive person I've ever met, I've never had anyone tell me it wasn't wrong to go to the adoption route. I will be turning to therapy to try to help with these feelings and doubts. I will also be cutting off my family. They've contributed to a lot of my issues in life, and I will not allow that energy around this new baby. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not calling out my son for treating my daughter badly? I have 2 kids, a son Ben, 44, and a daughter Emma, 42, female. Their father and I divorced when they were young. He wasn't a good husband, but he isn't a bad man. He is wealthy. He didn't bond with Emma, but he favored Ben, and it became overt as they grew up. Ben was easier than Emma and did well in school and sports. Emma, although smart, wasn't interested in school and was rebellious as a teenager. Their father spoiled Ben, and if I'm honest, he wasn't nice to Emma. This upset her and she would cry, feeling unfairly treated. I felt bad, but I couldn't do anything about it, so I felt it better to pretend it wasn't happening and hope it got better. It didn't. He wanted nothing to do with her, although there wasn't a reason why. Emma struggled to cope with this, and I think expected me to stand up for her. But I hate confrontation, and her father never listens to me anyway. I preferred not to discuss it with Emma and focus on other things. But she said I didn't allow her to be upset and didn't validate her. I didn't want to potentially cause a bigger rift and cause Ben to side with his father. Ben, on the other hand, was lavished with anything he wanted. Money, cars. He was expected to be successful like his father. As adults, the relationship between Ben and Emma fizzled out, which was sad because I couldn't do anything about it. Despite being given a large amount of wealth and more opportunities than most, Ben hasn't become successful, and he's quite resentful about it. His father stopped giving him money a few years ago, and he partially blames me because I told his father that he had given him too much. Despite being an easy child, Ben has grown up to be rather difficult. He has a temper and is very sensitive about his lack of career success, so we aren't allowed to talk about it. Emma's a stay-at-home mom. She's a good mom and her children's father earns a lot of money. Her father was regretful, so he reconnected with her. They have a relationship now. It's quite superficial, but I think it healed the wound a bit for Emma, so she reached out to Ben. They got along well for a couple years, but Ben stopped speaking to Emma. Emma was upset, and think it's because Ben doesn't like their father's interest in her. Ben hasn't given her an explanation, but he told me a silly reason that doesn't make sense. I told Emma I think Ben has behaved very badly. She asked me if I told him that. I said no, and she shouted at me that I have never stuck up for her or protected her. That if I can't do it this one time, she doesn't want a relationship with me. That I enable this behavior at her expense, and she's sick and tired of it. The thing is, Emma has 3 kids, and Ben has 1 kid. Emma will still allow me to have a good relationship with her kids, but Ben has made it difficult for me to see his kid in the past when he's angry, so I'm afraid he will do that again and stop speaking to me. I also don't want to be forced to be in the middle of them, so I won't do it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the judgment. You're the a-hole, and so weak. I feel for Emma. Absolutely spineless. That was my first reaction reading this. How can you be so spineless? Opie, you're the a-hole. Those are your kids. You're supposed to protect them and support them. And all you did was let them both down. Shame on you. Because as long as Emma was the target of her father and brother's mistreatment, then Opie wasn't. What an absolute awful human being. Because I refuse to even call her a mother. You're the a-hole for being a total failure as a mother to your daughter. You allowed this behavior by not sticking up for her. So what if you hate confrontation? Does that give you a right to emotionally abandon your daughter and be a silent accomplice to her torment? You are terrible. And if I were her, I'd never speak to you again, since you just want to suck up to your son for the sake of being grandma. I hope Emma cuts you all out of her life. You've all failed her. Exactly this. You're the a-hole OP, and you have failed both of your children for your own comfort. Pretty soon, both of them will go no contact with you, and you won't have to worry about any of it. I felt bad but couldn't do anything about it, so I thought it'd be better to pretend nothing was happening. You failed your kids. You failed them by letting them be treated so wrongly. Parents like you why adult kids go no contact. Shame on you. Yes, that makes no sense. Even if she couldn't change the way the father was being, talking to her daughter, giving her more emotional support, etc., would have been useful. Instead, she just acted like nothing was happening. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for saying that someone old enough for social media is old enough to know Santa does not exist? The other day on Facebook, I made a post about how it's my first Christmas as a grandma this year, and I'm excited to play Santa again as my son and his girlfriend live with me, so I'll be helping them assemble toys, wrap gifts, etc. They asked me to. My nephew is 12 years old and has a Facebook account, and had added me as a friend a while ago. He never posts, so I forgot we were even friends. A few hours later, I get a text from my sister saying I ruined Christmas, and why did I have to post about Santa? I was confused, and she said her son still believed in Santa until he read my post. She demanded I apologize to him and tell him I was joking. I told her no. This isn't a 5-year-old who accidentally overheard, and even then I don't know if I'd feel comfortable lying. He is almost a teenager. who honestly should have known by now. If he's old enough for a Facebook account, he's old enough to know Santa doesn't exist. This has caused a bit of controversy, but I do feel bad that I ruined magic for my nephew. Am I the a-hole? There is no way a 12-year-old these days still believes in Santa. Your sister is deluding herself about that. You didn't ruin anything. She's in denial that her baby is growing up. Not the a-hole. Homeschooled, maybe? It's not hard at all to believe a kid with an overprotective mother wouldn't know about Santa. My kids are 8 and 10, and are homeschooled and know Santa's not real. I have friends with school children who believe at 12. These are parents who let them watch what I frankly feel is inappropriate things, and they still believed. However, if your child is on social media and shouldn't be till 13, then you need to be prepared for adult things. Not a-hole, OP. Not a-hole, and yes, if she's still protecting his belief that Santa's real, he's clearly not mature enough to have an online social media profile. No, Mom is clearly not mature enough, being angry that her 12-year-old son found out about Santa. It's not the kid's fault that he has a dumb, overprotective mother. It's nice when preteens maintain some innocence, but if he is on the internet and social media, then how have they kept it from him for so long? I feel like they've used Santa to keep him in line and as a discipline tactic. Also, I think Santa is toxic AF, and I'm still not sure my young children are going to be brought up on him. I know what you mean about toxic. We took care to never refer to naughty/nice, hold presents hostage or base gifts on behavior. We also refuted some of the weird songs about him watching you all the time to determine if you are good or bad, because that's just plain weird. I think you can keep the tradition and the fun without weaponizing it. Am I the a-hole for getting my neighbor's car towed? I recently bought a house and moved in. The previous owner rented the house out to students and transformed a big part of the front yard into a parking space. My front yard is basically just 4 parking spaces. I live alone and basically only use one of the parking spaces. But while the painters, handymen, and gardeners for the backyard were there, they used the other parking spaces during the day because the nearest community parking spaces are half a kilometer from my house. So about a 5-minute walk. When they were done and I moved in, my elderly neighbor, who cannot walk without a cane, asked if she could continue the deal she made with the previous owner. She showed me the contract she made with the previous owner that states that she can use it in exchange for a home-cooked meal once a month. I told her she didn't have to give me anything as I understood her situation, but she insisted. So I signed a contract to let her use the space closest to her house. This went well for a couple of months before another house in the street was sold and the new neighbors asked if their handyman and painters could use the parking places until they were done, as it was not handy to make them walk all the way to and from their truck. It is not allowed to park on the street in my street. I told them it was fine, but only the handyman and painters can use the spaces. When they are done, I don't want others I did not make a deal with using my parking spaces, as I like to keep the spaces clear for my girlfriend, friends, and family when they are allowed to visit again. Fast forward a month, and the handyman and painters are finished with the house, and the new neighbors started using the spaces. I told them this wasn't what we discussed, and that they had to leave. They told me that the spaces are community spaces, and she and her husband could use them as I didn't need 4 spaces for myself. I told her to move the cars, or I had them towed. They moved the cars and didn't use the spaces anymore for about a week. As soon as she parked her car there again, I immediately called the tow company, and half an hour later, her car got towed. The next day, she came up to me asking where her car went. I told her I had it towed because she parked in my front yard. My friends tell me I'm being a petty a-hole for having her car towed and should apologize. My girlfriend tells me I did the right thing, as they would have probably claimed my entire front yard as their personal parking places if I didn't make a point out of it. So am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's absurd of her to claim that your private property is community space. She's acting very entitled, and you did the right thing by having her car towed. Hell, if anything happened to her car and it got scratched, she could sue you. You should probably put up a sign though. Parking only with explicit permission from the owner. All others will be towed. Maybe a camera too, just to make sure they don't try anything. That's actually a pretty good suggestion. I will look into having a sign made. Thanks. Not Dayhole. You warned them what would happen and they did it anyway. I don't understand why they would need to park there, and I don't think you have any moral obligation to let them slide. Plus, them trying to claim it as community parking, despite said parking being in your yard, is just ridiculous. They probably need to park there because a 5-minute walk would be the end of the world. My friends tell me I'm being a petty a-hole for having her car towed and should apologize. Easy. Tell your opinionated friends that they should let their neighbors park on their front lawn or driveway. Then, and only then, would the advice they offer and the reprimands they give you have an ounce of worth. You are the owner of your property and have a right to decide who can park there. Community spaces? Lol. The issue here are your neighbors who have no respect for your wishes and want to bend you to their desires. Continue to issue warnings and towings until the problem corrects itself. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for putting ugly one-way mirrors on the windows facing one of my neighbors because I saw the husband looking in my windows? I live in an apartment on the ground floor of a house that was converted to apartments. My neighbors, one street over, but the back of their house faces the back of the house I live in, can see my whole backyard and vice versa. My apartment has a whole wall of windows that are on the back of the house. It's gorgeous and is a big reason I picked the place. I love keeping plants and it let in a lot of light. Looking out, there is the neighbor's backyard, which is large and comes up close to my place. The property line is maybe 10 or 15 feet from my windows. Once it has gotten to be warm out, I've noticed the husband of the family owns that house looking into my apartment a lot. Even sometimes I look up and see him, look away then look back minutes later and is still looking. So I started shutting the shades during the day. That was kind of annoying. My place is a dark cramped shoebox without the windows open. And I can't do that for too long because the plants were struggling without light. So I bought these window coverings that make windows into one-way mirrors. During the day when it is light out, my windows look just like mirrors now. From the inside, it looks pretty much the same. The windows look tinted, slightly darker, but that's it. From the outside, you can't see in at all. It looks exactly like mirrors. The section of windows it's applied to is about 8 feet high and 20 feet wide. After a week of the window coverings being up, both of the parents from the neighbor's house came to my door and wanted to talk to me. The wife was complaining about the windows for a lot of reasons. 1, they were ugly. 2, it was uncomfortable, especially for the teens and their friends, to have a huge mirror adjacent to the swimming pool. It's at a time that they feel insecure about looks and they have lost interest in hanging out by the pool. 3, in the afternoon and evening, it was reflecting a lot of extra sunlight into their backyard. They couldn't enjoy eating dinner on the back porch with the sun in their eyes. I said sorry about the inconvenience, but I wanted it for privacy. They both pushed back on that some, and I said that I needed privacy because of the husband staring. He started denying it in front of his wife, and so I took out my phone where I'd taken pictures and sent it to my group of friends and showed her a couple pictures of him gaping at my apartment and the texts from that time. He got mad and said he incidentally looked over, and the 8 foot by 20 foot mirror was a crazy overreaction. I said that I'd like to keep it, and that I was sorry, but frankly, this was avoidable. I think they're both mad because they called my landlord, who brushed them off. Am I the a-hole for putting the mirrored film on my windows? Not the a-hole. You proved that you needed privacy because your husband is a creep, and they're upset for being called out. You don't owe them anything. And if your landlord hasn't contacted you about it, then you don't need to do anything that you don't want to. He's only mentioned offhand that he got a call from the neighbors. He brushed them off, saying he didn't care, and he just wanted to know how they got his number. I said I didn't give them his number, and that maybe they found it on one of his listings online. That was it. Laughing my butt off. That conversation sure didn't go the way they thought it was gonna go, did it? They got all self-righteous and indignant about their poor teens with their low self-esteem and insecurity about their looks. And oh no, now they can't swim anymore and it's your fault. Honestly, what a load of steaming BS. I would have loved to hear the conversation between the wife and her husband when they got home. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You only put it up because he was staring at your window. Whatever his reason, that's pretty creepy, especially since it seems to be happening a lot. Tell them you'll only consider taking it down if they put up covers on their property which stop the husband from being able to see in your window. If they don't like it, then too bad. Any complaints from any other party who doesn't like it should also be directed to the peeping husband. Exactly this. Wish Opie had said how the wife reacted to the photos. Betcha creeper husband slept on the couch that night. She actually jumped to his defense, saying that when houses are so close, sometimes you end up looking towards neighbors' houses but not trying to, just looking off into the distance, thinking probably. Yeah, he was thinking real hard. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for asking for compensation for something my kid destroyed? We hired a babysitter we've had a few times at a good rate of $20 per hour since it was only for 3 hours in our home. The babysitter is a 19-year-old woman if it matters. I think maybe the age will affect something. My wife had to rush to work in an emergency, and I was already at work. The babysitter is already familiar with some of our rules, like our 3-year-old is only allowed in the living room, playroom, and dining room when eating. The babysitter, I guess, had an emergency herself and had to be on the phone for 20 minutes. For some reason, she decided to take the call outside. Her rationale was it was private and didn't want our child to listen in. In those 20 minutes, our daughter was able to move the couch to the living room gate, scale the gate, head into the basement, and pull one of my guitars off the wall. The neck is all warped, and my luthier said the neck needs to be replaced. I'm asking the babysitter to front the bill on a new guitar, not a repair or neck replacement, as the alternatives diminish the value of the guitar. Mismatching neck to body severely impacts value, and the neck repair does too. It's $2,200. Am I the a-hole here? Or is she? Her parents are telling us we're responsible. She's offering only to have babysat for free. Our friends are saying we're too harsh, but it was her responsibility, right? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your valuables should be insured and locked up. Your baby gate should be secured. You are responsible for buying a couch that a literal baby can move. What kind of couch is that? You are responsible for interviewing, hiring, and training your employee. You are responsible for your minor child's actions. The babysitter is partially to blame, sure, but you also share a large portion of the blame. The babysitter would be responsible for a portion of the repair, not a brand new guitar. Your demand for a new guitar means you are trying to profit off this, and that's why you're the a-hole. Music shop manager here. I'd also like to point out that if the guitar's neck was warped and not broken, there's almost no way it could have been done by the babysitter/child. Necks only warped for a few different reasons. 1. Being stored in improper environments with unregulated humidity. Funny you mentioned he stores it in the basement, which can be the kiss of death if it's unfinished or without a humidity regulator. 2. Truss rod adjustments. 3. String over tension. 4. Having weight against the neck, say keeping it leaning at an angle against a wall for extended periods. Unless the child somehow made a truss rod adjustments, obviously not, it would have taken a very long time for that neck to warp. There's no way it could have been done in 20 minutes. Opie likely has his instruments stored improperly and as a result, caused his own neck to warp. I think this situation is reason for you to stop hiring her as your babysitter. But asking a 19-year-old to pay you $2,200 for something that was ultimately destroyed by your child is too much. She failed in her duty to supervise your child, so you're justified in not hiring her again. But other than that, how can you possibly expect her to pay you all that? It's just unreasonable, as is the fact that you're not asking her to repair your guitar, you're asking her for a new guitar. Come on, dude, you're the a-hole. I'm not sure the babysitter should have left the kid alone, but you're the a-hole. Accidents happen, and she wouldn't be babysitting for you if she had that kind of cash laying around. I would be more pissed the kid was able to get to the basement and move a couch. More importantly, is your kid a bodybuilder? Moving a couch is a feat. To recap, you have every right to be frustrated, but you're the a-hole for trying to get the babysitter to pay for something your kid damaged. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my nephew after he stole an important $50 bill from me? There's a story behind that bill, and it mattered a lot to me. My best friend Henry and I knew each other since we were in middle school. In high school, we were pretty adamant about being child-free and swore we'd never have kids. We decided to make a little bet though. First guy to have a kid owed the other $50. It was a dumb bet that didn't really take seriously, and I completely forgot about until 9 years later. I was with Henry at the diner once for lunch, and he slips me a $50 bill. It took me a minute, but when it clicked, I was so ecstatic. Still one of my fondest memories with him. Two grown men hugging it out at a diner in tears after giving me the news that he's going to be a dad for the first time. His daughter was born after that. I was honored to be her godfather. Then, unfortunately, we lost him all too soon when his little girl was 5. It's been 3 years since then, and I still miss him. We were like brothers, and I kept that bill as a memento. I see my goddaughter all the time, so the bill is also a reminder of the first time I learned of her existence. Kept it in a small box with other sentimental things of mine on top of a dresser in my room. My sister is staying with my wife and I, along with my 16-year-old nephew. They all know about this story, by the way. I've told them before many times. A few days ago, I noticed the box was in a different spot than where I left it, and that's when I discovered that the bill was gone. He eventually confessed what he did because I was frantically looking for it all over the place. My nephew needed the money because he wanted to take his girlfriend out to eat, but my sister wouldn't give him any cash since he spent all his allowance money. Honestly, I was so furious, and I'd ask him how he could do that, knowing that it was one of the few things I have of my best friend and he stole it. My nephew kept apologizing, but I couldn't look at him. My emotions were a little too strong, and I just wanted to get away from him before I started yelling. My sister offered to pay me back, but she damn well knows that's not the same. However, she's saying I'm being too hard on him because I've been ignoring him the last couple of days and is feeling ashamed enough. She's apologized on his behalf, but does think I'm taking it too far. Right now, it's still all fresh for me. That bill was important to me because of the memory it holds. Now it's lost, and I'll never get it back. I'm not at a place where I want to talk to him yet, but my sister feels I'm being somewhat of an A, but punishing him like this as he's already learned his lesson. I'd just like to know if I am. Not day-hole. I doubt there will ever be anything this boy can do to mend the pain he has caused. And as sad as that is, he is 16 and needs to take accountability for his selfishness. His mother really needs to look at herself because she raised a child who decided, knowing the context, that his actions would be acceptable. Truly horrible situation, and I am so very sorry for you. I would recommend you go to the place they ate to see if the owner still has it, as generally places only do banking once a week, so you may get lucky. Thank you. Don't think there'd be much luck there, unfortunately. He said he broke the bill at the CVS before they went to go eat. I don't see ever getting it back, and that still stings. It might be worth going to CVS to see if they still have it. Do you have any pictures of the bill where you can see the serial number? Or by process of elimination based on the date? Not day-hole. I mean, at a bare minimum, he stole your money. More than that, he stole an important memento he knew about. At 16, I can't help but think it was calculated. He's not sorry he did it. He's just sorry he got caught. I'd weighed on the side of it being impulsive and thinking myself. It would also have been relatively easy for him not to fess up. I suspect he's regretting having done so. Am I the a-hole for refusing to offer emotional support to my ex-fiance's daughter? I, 34 male, met my ex-fiance 6 years ago. I was 28 and she was 36. My ex had a daughter, Kayla, who was 18 around the time we started dating, only didn't meet her until a year later. She disapproved, and I get why, given that I was only 10 years older than her. Obviously, I didn't want a stepfather role, and I made sure she knew that. Just wanted us to acknowledge each other as two people who love her mom very much and to respect one another. Kayla still hated my guts, and she never held back giving me attitude or even calling her mom a cougar. My ex told me her daughter was in therapy, and never liked anyone she dated since she and her ex-husband divorced when Kayla was 7. Things never improved. My ex and I eventually moved in with each other to a new apartment. She insisted on Kayla also moving in with us since she was in college and didn't want her to spend so much on rent. I had no problem with that. Still, Kayla never respected me as her mom's partner. Sometimes things of mine would go missing or I'd find them destroyed. Like a new watch my ex got me for my birthday. She threw a literal fit when we got engaged. The morning after, my car got keyed and I could only guess who it was since the place we lived had a private garage only we had access to. This just caused too many conflicts between my fiancé and I, since she wouldn't do anything to put Kayla in line. We broke things off 3 years ago and went about my life. It hurt, but in the end, it became too much. I found out on Facebook that my ex-fiancé passed from COVID 9 months ago. Now Kayla wants to get in touch for us to meet. She sent an apology message last month and she's asking for us to meet up for coffee. Kayla says she wants us to become friends since I was so close to her mom too, and would like that help with what she's dealing with. I thanked her for her apology, but said I don't have an interest in us meeting up. I closed that chapter in my life for a reason, and it would be better to leave this in the past. I'm glad she's apologized and acknowledged what she did, but she can understand why I don't want her in my life anymore. For a while, Kayla messaged me a few times, but I stopped replying after giving my final answer. Then, my ex's mom also messaged me because Kayla is upset and asked her to talk to me. I gave the same answer, which made her very mad. She says Kayla is a child who needs comfort and she can't believe I'm going to turn my back on her. The lady can't give Kayla the same comfort because she lives in a different country. And I'm the closest thing Kayla has to my ex since I'm so much closer and we can actually meet up regularly. I haven't replied to either of their messages, but I still read them when they come in. I want to remain firm in keeping Kayla out of my life after everything. But given that she lost her mom, am I being an a-hole because I don't want to give her the support? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If Kayla was 18 years old 6 years ago, that means she's 24 years old now and not a child. She has no relationship to you, and you don't owe her anything. It's nice you accepted her apology. It was more than you had to do. You would be justified if you blocked her and her grandmother. I don't believe that Kayla's even after emotional support. I think she's planning to hit Opie up for money. It's the only reason people who have been nasty to you for years suddenly get in touch. She can never fully apologize for repeatedly ruining her late mother's chance at happiness with a new partner. Had her mother still been with Opie in a different living environment, she may still even be alive. Block her, Opie. Not a-hole. You had no real relationship with Kayla. It makes no sense that she would want emotional support from you. It's far more likely that she wants something else. Money, a free place to live, than that she wants emotional support from someone she never had a good relationship with and whose belongings she vandalized. Surprised this is the only comment saying this? I mean, it absolutely sucks losing a parent, especially in your early/mid-20s. But it sounds like she thoroughly hated Opie and was doing childish things to Opie as an adult in early 20s. When you're 21, you know damaging people's property is an illegal and crappy thing to do. I highly doubt this is purely a call for emotional help. I can almost guarantee this Kayla will be asking for financial support, place to live, etc., hoping Opie will step in as some sort of pseudo-parent, since it's the closest thing she has. Not an a-hole. This child is now in her 20s, and both she and her grandmother are asking far too much of you. It may seem harsh, but I would block them both for contacting you further. Not an a-hole. If she needs help, she can get a therapist. There are tons of qualified professionals that can help her, and it's not your responsibility to reopen those wounds to help a child. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for getting my own streaming services? My boyfriend 28 male has given our streaming service passwords to several of his friends. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, etc. If you're someone who shares a streaming service with several people, you're probably aware that there's a cap on how many people can stream at once. Since our streaming services are being shared with so many people, he doesn't remember how many people and which of his friends he shared it with. It's very difficult to watch anything since there's always multiple people at any given time. Whenever we try to watch a show or movie together and we can't proceed because of limitations, he'll excuse it by saying, "We'll just try later when they're not watching." The issue is someone is always watching, lol. My patience began to wear thin, so I told my boyfriend, "I don't mean to be nasty, but your friends are being freeloaders. They have jobs, and if they want to use HBO Max, they can pay for their own subscription. It's really hard to watch anything I or we want to watch with so many people." He told me I'm being selfish, and that since he pays for it, he can share it with whoever he wants to. So I subscribed to a few services on my personal devices and paid for them. I was watching a show that I had been dying to watch on my laptop, and my boyfriend asked if I wanted to watch something with him. I said, "No thanks, I've been dying to catch up on this." He then said, "See? Just be patient. Not everyone is watching all the time." I said, "Oh, actually, I made my own account." He got offended because he said he already pays for subscription services, so I'm just wasting my money and being childish. Not Daeho. Tell him you can do what you want with your money. Since he's not interested in giving you a say in the streaming services, you're allowed to get your own. Major not Daeho. Because I pay for the streaming devices at home and my brother gave out the password to several of his friends and I would never be able to watch anything, so I just canceled the subscription and told him I'll no longer be subscribed and made a new account for myself. You could have just changed the password and logged out all of the other devices. I know some streaming services allow that. Maybe remind him that he is just your boyfriend and in no way has control of your finances. You also don't have to consult with him before you make decisions concerning your finances. Exactly. Plus, streaming services aren't crazy expensive. It's not like she's spending thousands of dollars on something useless. Definitely not Daeho. He seems to be prioritizing the wants of his friends. He's not prioritizing you and the time you spend together. And he's calling you childish? Red flag. Next story. Am I Daeho for refusing to allow my child to stay overnight at her father's home? I'll start by saying that the issues with this man run very deep. And I'd be here all day if I was to tell you the whole story. So for this post, I just want an opinion on this particular issue. I, late 30s female, am a single mom to my daughter aged 4. Her father, early 30s male, abandoned us as soon as he found out I was pregnant, and then changed his mind just before she was born. He has caused untold hell since that moment, but that's info for another post. My daughter has never stayed over at his house. He rents a tiny studio. He recently has said he may move to a house and then he'd like her to start staying over. I have refused on the following grounds. 1. He smokes grass. He smells. His home smells. She smells and her clothes and shoes smell when she comes home from a day there. I have mentioned this several times and it has got slightly better, but he still smokes it. And I'm not happy for her to stay in a home where there are Ds. Plus, I do not know who he gets it from or if it gets dropped off to him, etc. Now, I know it's not like it's meth, but I'm still not happy to have her around it. And it's been very upsetting to have her come back to me smelling of it. I have told him he will have to give it up before I let her stay over. He wouldn't smoke it when she was there. That I know. 2. The incident. When she was 2, nearly 3, I went out for the evening and he stayed at mine to watch her until I got home at 11 p.m. at which point he would leave. I live on the 4th floor of an apartment building. When I came home, up in the lift, the doors opened, and there he was, in the communal hallway about to take the lift down to the ground floor to his car, leaving a 2-year-old asleep in my home. He claims he was only popping down to the car. It's not an issue and she was asleep, so what's the big deal? I said that not only could he have been involved in an accident or something, but my main concern was as a 2-year-old she often wakes in the night. If she had woken up and been unable to find an adult in her home, she would have been absolutely traumatized. He also left the front door unlocked, and she could have gone looking for him. He says that he did not go down to his car, because I came out of the lift before he managed to get any further, so technically he didn't leave her. Obviously my main point is that he intended to and got caught. This argument goes round in circles. So therefore I have refused to allow him to have her overnight as he cannot be trusted. He says I'm being over the top and dredging up the past. I say I'm a good mom, and I won't have my girl in any danger whatsoever. There is a lot more detail I can elaborate if asked. But Reddit, am I the a-hole for not allowing overnight stays? Not the a-hole. But you all three need a legal custody arrangement yesterday. This issue isn't going anywhere. Not legal advice here, but chances are he'd get at least some overnight visitation, with rules, if you did so. So it's time to set expectations at a reasonable level to ensure safety, like no smoking while she's present, no leaving the house while she's present unless there's another approved adult in the house. These are totally reasonable. I wouldn't be so sure about him getting any overnights with a child coming home from visits smelling like D's. So you're asking if you're the a-hole for not allowing your kid to stay the night with someone who does smoke and seems completely irresponsible basically? The answer is no, you aren't. Not the a-hole. He's never taken them when with her. His whole home stinks because he's dirty and messy and doesn't wash things properly. So the smell just lingers in all the furniture, etc. If CPS were to visit his home, would they find issue with it? Not the a-hole for trying to keep your daughter safe. To be totally honest, they have bigger fish to fry. I mean, they'd smell, and maybe if they looked, they'd find it. I have no idea where he keeps it. They'd see it's pretty dirty, but I don't think they'd have anything else to report. Thank you. Not the a-hole. First, dude proved himself irresponsible when he disappeared from the relationship the second a pregnancy happened. The fact that he got remorseful and came back doesn't, in my mind, change that much. Secondly, the smoking thing doesn't bother me that much, as long as he doesn't get wasted while the kid is there, and if it's legal. If it's not, that's a whole different thing. Third, leaving a small child home alone, even if it was just to go down to his car, is an irresponsible act. Not irredeemably irresponsible, just definitely not smart. But it's the sort of thing that you might not really think about when having a kid around is relatively new to you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting my wife stop sleeping with her makeup on? Hear me out, please. My male 33, wife female 27, was unemployed since 2019. She was down on her luck with getting a job, and 2020 made it a whole lot worse. But her new friend got her a job at a beauty salon. And I'm very happy for her and very proud because she got dealt a crappy hand in those nearly 3 years without income. Also, she developed awesome makeup artist skills. She practices a lot on her own face to come up with her own ideas, and she already has few customers that like her work. She works in the afternoon till 9 p.m., gets home, eats dinner, then goes straight to bed. Usually before I do because I go to bed at 12. So what my wife does is go to bed with her full makeup on, leaving stains in both pillows because she always tends to sleep on different sides on the bed. Why it bothers me is because of the stains and also the strong smell of the products. I talked to her about it and she took it as an I was against her wearing makeup, saying she needed to look good herself to get customers to want her service. I just pointed out that the stains she was leaving in both pillows were not cool, and since I ended up doing the cleaning because she said she was too tired to remove her makeup before going to bed. Last night, she finished eating dinner and wanted to go to bed. I asked her if she was going to bed with her makeup on, and she stood there saying yes. I informed her that I already cleaned the pillows and asked her to clean up before going to bed. She threw a fit and gave a long rant about how long and hard she works trying to provide for us, and that I was being overdramatic and paying attention to stupid little things. She wanted to just go inside a bedroom, but I stopped her and insisted she removes her makeup first. She blew up at me and called me an a-hole for not letting her sleep and rest after being on her feet all day. She grabbed a blanket and went to sleep on the couch, and she was so mad I had to go outside to cool off a bit. This morning she went radio silence, but kept giving me bitter looks, then tested me hours ago to say she was spending the night at a friend's place since I was going to make her sleep on the couch tonight as well. I don't get it. I could have been a major a-hole for causing to sleep on the couch, but I was getting tired of having to clean the pillows every day, and that's not an exaggeration. Am I the a-hole for insisting my wife to stop sleeping with her makeup on? Not the a-hole. Leaving her makeup on overnight is terrible for her skin. And at the very, very least, she could put a towel over her pillow. But yeah, she's going to ruin her skin, and I wear makeup regularly, so I'm not anti-makeup. I'm pro look after the canvas. I'm pro makeup, but you have to take it off before bed and have a good skincare routine. I can't even imagine how bad her skin must look under all that makeup. Wonder if the issue is it's so bad she doesn't want her husband to see her without it. Plus, It takes what, like 5 minutes at most to take makeup off? She could just use a makeup remover wipe and a quick rinse, since she obviously either has Teflon skin or doesn't give a crap about it. It takes less time than brushing her teeth, so it's not some major barrier to getting to sleep. This whole thing is super weird. Not Dayhall. Is your wife a child? She can learn to wash her face rather than put her energy into a temper tantrum. Leaving makeup on 24/7 is terrible for her skin too. That should get her attention. But you know, even if it weren't just the stains that you have to clean up, you told her the smell bothers you in bed, and she doesn't seem to care. That's incredibly inconsiderate. She shouldn't sleep on the couch, as that's even harder to get makeup out of, by the way. Ooh, I hate makeup smell, not gonna lie. Don't know how Opie sleeps on pillows with the smell all over. Not Dayhall. There are wipes she can get for this. It takes just seconds to remove your makeup with them. Am I the a-hole for calling my fiancé lazy for wanting to be a stay-at-home wife? I'm 42 male, am engaged to who I feel is the one, 33 female. We had been dating for just over 3 years and I proposed last month. Last night, after another session of wedding planning, my fiancé asked if I would be alright with her being a stay-at-home wife. At first I laughed because I thought she was joking, but she was being very serious. She told me not to laugh and said she wants to be a stay-at-home wife. I asked her why, as we both make pretty good money at our jobs, and we can't afford our current lifestyle with just one income. She says it's because I make a lot more than her, which is true as I make about 40% more, and that we could scale back our lifestyle. And then said it's been on my mind a lot, and I think working 9 to 5 just isn't for me. I asked her if she was being serious, and she confirmed that she is. I said that I'm not comfortable with that idea, and said maybe if we have kids, she could be a stay-at-home mom. But I'm not cool with her being a stay-at-home wife. But she said that I was being manipulative, since we're both child-free. But I just said that as a hypothetical, since I'm not at all okay with being the sole breadwinner. That devolved into a pretty heated argument, with her saying that I should support her dreams. But she never stated what she wants to do with her staying at home, even though I did ask. So this is where maybe the a-hole. In the heat of the moment, I said, "Where's this coming from? Why is it your dream to be a stay-at-home wife? Is it your dream to be lazy?" She got really upset at that and had gone to her mother's and said, "We'll talk more when you come down." I'll be real here. I don't want her to be a stay-at-home wife. I'm not okay with being the sole breadwinner, and I do not wish to support this dream. I want a partner in life, not a dependent doing nothing productive with their days. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. So she waits until you propose and she thinks she has you wrapped around her fingers to tell you her dream of being lazy and then has the nerve to say that you're the manipulative one? Jesus. That's a very good point. Up until I proposed to her, she was just filled with so much ambition, and that's one of the reasons I fell in love in the first place. Feels like it came out of left field, her sudden desire not to work. Oh man, I feel genuinely bad for you. I'm wondering, what are her friends' jobs? Like, does she surround herself with people that might have the same mindset when it comes to not working? All her friends and our mutual friends are all pretty ambitious people. Even the stay-at-home moms are very driven in terms of child rearing. This is very simple. Are you prepared to lower your standard of living solely to support her financially? Are you prepared to grind 5 days a week for the next 20 plus years at a job while she does whatever she wants to do? Personally, I'd say when you ask her what her dreams are and she dodged the question, she told you everything you need to know. Lol, support her dreams. If my husband had a dream to go back to college, I would support that. If he had a dream to start his own business in an area he was passionate about, I would support that. But if he had a dream to sit on his butt and play video games / be a stay-at-home husband, he would soon be supporting my dream to be divorced. It sounds like you and your fiancé have very different values in life. Not stay home. This all day. I've taken a few months to myself between jobs in the past. It doesn't take much time or effort to shop and clean for a household containing just 2 able-bodied adults. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my fiancé to dictate what my mom wears to our wedding? My fiancé and I are both Indian. Her family has been in the US for a couple generations, and I was born in India but came here at 6 years old and don't remember much of it. My mom hates India. It hates being Indian due to a lot of trauma she faced, such as being married off very young, being treated badly for being a girl, being slightly darker skinned than her sister, and then being trapped in a very unhealthy marriage. My mom left my dad a couple years after we came to the US and was shamed by her family. She now totally denies being Indian and wants nothing to do with it. We are having a big, mostly traditional Indian wedding, which my mom is cool with, but my mom wants to wear an evening gown and not a sari. But my fiancé wants all of the family in traditional Indian attire, and this has turned into a huge fight and neither of them are backing down. My fiancé feels that my mom is going to stand out, and that she is being disrespectful but not going along with our wishes for one day. My mom feels that my fiancé is being controlling and invalidating her feelings about her identity. Then my mom's husband got involved, and got into it with my future mother-in-law, and now everything is a mess. My mom showed me some of the dresses she's looking at, and none of them are attention-seeking or anything crazy. So I put my foot down with my fiancé and said she can't force my mom to wear a sari. My fiancé and future mother-in-law think I'm being an a-hole, but my mom is grateful and even said she can wear red, traditional Indian color, if my fiancé is so worried about her standing out. I thought that was a good compromise, but my fiancé feels I'm being a spineless mama's boy. Not the a-hole. I'd go so far as to say, sorry, but not sorry. Not the a-hole. I'm usually in the camp of supporting your wife over your mother, but it seems your wife is being callous for no good reason. Is she this self-centered and selfish in other ways? This would be a situation I'd be taking a step back from, to see if this is even a woman you want to marry after this. Not the a-hole. Your mother is likely already putting on a strong face to watch her son be married surrounded by a cultural aesthetic that reminds her of past trauma. I can't imagine someone I love not recognizing that strength, instead of trying to drape that trauma on them. I would keep asking your fiancé why your mother's mental health means so little to her. Please continue to stand up for your mother. Bridal entitlement and lack of empathy hurts my brain. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé isn't marrying herself, so she doesn't get to make all the decisions alone. Hopping onto the back of this comment, I would see this as a big red flag. If she can't compromise on one measly dress, which her mother was even willing to look like a traditional sari/dress, then who knows what she can't compromise on. I don't want to be the one to say it, but maybe it may not be your healthiest decision. Edit. Well, I spent all day reading through some very thorough and insightful comments and talking to my fiancé, and the wedding is off. Thanks everyone for taking the time to read and respond. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my boyfriend out over my cat? For context, my 24 female boyfriend 30 male and I recently moved in together. It's something we've been talking about, and when his lease ended, he moved into my apartment. I have a cat, Millie, who is my baby girl that I've had since she was a kitten. Back when my boyfriend and I first started dating, he made a joke that if we were ever going to live together, he'd have to get rid of that cat, which I dismissed at the time. When he would come over, he would ignore Millie, making jokes about how cats are stuck up, how much she's a dog person. Again, I dismissed this, because I never acted hostile towards her, and I figured it was just a preference. When we started to get serious about moving in, he asked if I would consider giving her away because he didn't like the idea of living with a cat. He almost laughed before realizing he was serious. I told him that under no circumstances would I get rid of my cat. I felt guilty about being unwilling to compromise, but he actually took it well and reassured me that if she was this important to me, he'd get over it. Fast forward to last night. I don't think he realized I was in the kitchen when he came home. Millie was on a couch, and I heard him go into the room and give this sigh. But before I could call out, I heard him say, "You're so freaking worthless." It terrified me because I've never heard him speak with such malice. He sounded like a different person. It was just so cold and hostile that I panicked and rushed out there to see him looking at Millie. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I completely freaked out. I was yelling, asking what he thought was doing talking to her like that. He jumped, and I scooped Millie up and told him to leave my apartment right now. He looked so stunned and started to argue, asking where was he supposed to go. I told him that I don't care. He just needs to leave. He was pissed and said he was going for a drive and slammed the door behind him. I immediately started sobbing and holding Millie. I was shaking, and she could tell I was upset and kept cuddling me. She calmed me down, and later when he texted asking if he could come back, I said yes. I put Millie in the bedroom so we could talk. We were both a lot calmer, and I felt awful after we explained aside. I'll often call Millie little names, and he said he was just trying to be playfully mean too and misjudged his tone. But he said it felt awful that I chose a cat over him, and that he called it my apartment when it's supposed to be our place. He told me he was constantly feeling second best to Millie, who I wouldn't even consider rehoming, and I had thrown him out over an animal when he's a person. I explained to him how much he means to me, and apologized for ever making him feel like this wasn't his home. I think I might have overreacted, but I just don't know. He's my boyfriend, and she's something I kept refusing to compromise on. But I also don't believe that he just misjudged his tone. Am I the a-hole? Not an a-hole, and he's lying now. Don't let him gaslight you. Your cat is going to go missing someday. This. If for some reason you do continue this, make sure you have plenty of photographs of her and you as proof that she's yours, and that she's microchipped because she will end up on the streets or dropped off at a shelter. Not an a-hole. Rehome your a-hole boyfriend. You shouldn't have dismissed those earlier jokes. On a first date, you should have said something like, all jokes aside, I would never get rid of my cat. I can't BS on the worthless comment being his attempt at being playful. He is just making up excuses because you caught him. Agreed. He got caught and came up with a BS excuse. Ditch him before the cat goes missing or worse. Not an a-hole. The way a person talks about an animal or treats an animal is a good indication of the type of person they are. After all the talk about wanting to get rid of her, I could never trust him alone with her. How do I know he won't poison her, physically hurt her, or dump on the side of the road? If it was my boyfriend, he would be gone. Flat out gone. If you don't like cats/dogs, that's fine. But when you are just nasty about it, then you cross a line. Yep, if this is how he is when he thinks Opie isn't there and is his regular mood, I dread to think how he is in a bad mood. Next story. Am I the a-hole for implying that my wife is the cookie monster? My wife and I have a 5-year-old daughter, Ellie. Ellie loves cookies and takes it very seriously when her cookies go missing. My wife is also pregnant with twins and sometimes loses track of how many cookies she eats. Last night, my wife came to me and said she ate the rest of the cookies. I said no problem and that we'll go to the store today for more. Ellie went to the kitchen for a snack and looked into the cookie jar to find it empty. She ran to me and said that we had an emergency. The cookies were missing. I helped her look for them, but after a few minutes, she realized they were really gone. I told her the cookie monster must have snuck in while sleeping and stolen the cookies. Needless to say, she's very mad at the cookie monster right now. I took her to Target, and when we were buying cookies, she said we need to get another package to hide in the pantry in case the cookie monster came back. I said that was a good idea, and we left with our replacement cookies and our emergency cookies. When we got home, my wife pulled me aside and said that I shouldn't have said the cookie monster stole the cookies when I knew she did it, and that I'm implying that she's the cookie monster. I didn't think it was a big deal, but she seemed pretty hurt, so I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. Edit. The cookie monster left a card for Ellie apologizing for eating all of the cookies without asking, and left her a cookie monster stuffed animal. The only downside is, the card and stuffed animal were surrounded by cookie crumbs, and it looks like there's a missing cookie from the jar. Now for the comments. I love how wholesome this is. Not an a-hole. Your wife is pregnant, so she's extra sensitive, which is totally normal. I hope your daughter will forgive the actual cookie monster eventually. He was my favorite when I was a kid. I have a feeling he's gonna sneak in again tonight and leave an I'm sorry for stealing your cookies card. She should be fine once she gets an apology. You're the best. One day you and your wife will enjoy laughing about this. Until then, keep doing everything you're doing because you seem to have found a perfect ways to support your pregnant wife. He may leave her a cookie or a cookie monster stuffy with her card, but he is not sure yet. Either way, this is gonna be an awesome story for the kids at the school tomorrow. No a-holes here. 5-year-olds can overreact and can get very upset over tiny things. She's clearly ticked at the cookie monster. I can also see your wife being upset or even embarrassed about being the cookie monster. Though it'd be a lot more embarrassing if your daughter had said, I need to hide the cookies or else mommy will eat all of them. Having her be mad at the cookie monster keeps her from being mad at her mom. So nobody has done anything wrong, except the cookie monster. Not today, Hall. It was a joke. And I bet your wife is hormonal due to being pregnant, so is more sensitive and more prone to eating more food. Don't mention it again and it'll blow over. I'm not mentioning it, but Ellie's not over it yet. She can hold a grudge when it comes to her cookies. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole? My boyfriend inherited $1 million, and I want him to pay more towards the household. My boyfriend inherited $1 million early last year, both cash and investments. We would both rather have his mom back, but that's not possible. Over the past 10 years, my boyfriend has been unemployed many times. We agreed that due to his money issues, he would pay 1/3 of his take-home pay to rent/utilities. Until this past year, he also used my car when he needed. He would buy groceries, but I paid for most things. Now he has money. I've asked him to pay more in rent. His equal share would be $650 more than what he pays. When I brought it up, he suggested an extra $250, still leaving me to cover $400 more than him. This hurt my feelings, and we had a fight. He recently complained that he was the only one going to Costco, and that he shouldn't have to purchase so much. But he has made some small purchases for himself lately. Speakers, collectible skates, and snowboards. His wording is, I can't afford to do blank. But I'm not asking for anything more than household expenses. But I know he can afford to do more, and it hurts that he doesn't think he needs to. I suggested he look at what it would cost for him to live on his own, and it would be about 5 times what he is currently paying, all in with all our utilities and such. I think he is subsidizing his lifestyle at my expense, and he doesn't think he needs to contribute money because I don't need it. I'm not saving money, and really would like to have something for retirement. I said that if he doesn't want to pay his share, then he should have his own place. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. Kick him out. He'll start paying his own way real quick. You think he is using you to subsidize your lifestyle? Oh no, OP. He is using you. He's a freeloading, greedy cheapskate. Put him and his $1 million on the curb and go live your best life. 10 years? Ages? Tell him to put up or shut up. Not the a-hole. That is what makes it just so egregious. I know a lot of people feel inheritance should be theirs and not something put into a family account. But when I was in a similar situation recently, I used the money to help my family out as a whole, as I know my wife would do the same. During our lives, our earning power has varied dramatically, and we always just pooled our income and paid off bills and rent, etc., without making exact amounts. That is, we did what we could to cover costs and never nickeled and dimed. And this was after 2 years, not 10 years.